Appena c'è una da tempo, la mia di morti, ma c'è una pulme.
Big storm, a few days out. We're gonna use it to mask our approach. Try another truce. How long before some asshole?
Good morning on the General Cross 12 or so hours ago. I've already started my download, but I haven't tested anything in the actual game as of yet. First of all, the update was one months in, which arrived just roughly 2 days ago, fixing a plethora of issues and Folks, we have indeed received patch 1.5 for Steam, which arrived just roughly 2 days ago, fixing a plethora of issues and adding some much needed quality of life. But the patch did leave one pivotal question for a lot of gamers, which was, what about consoles? That's right, consoles have very much still been in the dark ages in regards to updates, and I have all of the relevant information regarding this right here. First of all, the update has now been released for consoles already, and was confirmed roughly 12 or so hours ago. I've already started my download, but I haven't tested anything in the actual game as of yet, so results are yet to be seen. Now, in regards to why we've had to wait for this update, to fill you all in on the general process here, once the patch was complete, it would have been sent to both Microsoft and Sony for verification, which we'll cover in just a few moments. This verification may begin immediately, or it may take some time, with time being either days or over a week. And then once verification begins and then completes, which also takes time, it will either pass or fail. If it fails, it will need to be sent back for the developers to fix, thus resetting the entire process. However, if it passes, then it will be shown through, and just console gamers will receive the update. Now, when the patch is sent through to Microsoft and Sony, it will also have been uploaded to Steam straight away, without ever needing to undergo this verification process. So it's very likely that Microsoft and Sony both received this update just a few days ago. Now, in regards to this verification process, a lot of folks are unaware as to why this is the case. Some gamers have run into these situations before, but for those who haven't, I'll bring you all up to speed very quickly. Sometimes we may see a game release on both PC and console, or even originally released on PC and then later come to console for support. When this occurs, there are sometimes instances of one platform's version being outdated compared to the other, and in most instances, it's almost exclusively PC that is further ahead of console. The reason being is Steam simply has far better systems in place to allow developers to upload patches and updates to their system without any previous verification being needed. I don't so much understand why, but we can likely put it down to Steam just being quite sophisticated and built around this concept in general. However, for consoles, it is an entirely different matter. Before developers are able to upload any form of official patch to their game, it must first be verified by the console, and in this case, we're referring to Microsoft and Sony. So until they verify the update and give it the green light, we will not be receiving it. There are some exceptions to this rule, such as any developer who sits within the AAA category are usually not required to undergo this process, and this is largely due to their high standing within the gaming industry. So developers like FromSoft and CD Projekt Red, etc. Everyone else, however, is very much subject to this process, and with BT being entirely unknown prior to Wuchang's release, they will absolutely be held back by these constraints. Now, the reason this process exists is Microsoft and Sony do not want any form of update that could somehow interfere or mess up the console itself. As I said, Steam doesn't have this issue due to its infrastructure, and because of this, developers on Steam can throw out patches very quickly. So if they accidentally break anything, they can potentially fix it very swiftly also. Consoles, things are done very differently. Due to the process, console patches tend to be many smaller pieces, all bundled together into a much larger update, due to the time it can take to finally verify the patch through. Meaning, these updates typically tend to be quite big and vetted to ensure they don't create further issues. It's not always the case, but it is what is most commonly seen. So, with all of this said and done, in regards to Microsoft and Sony receiving future updates, we simply just need to cross our fingers and hope they do pass verification. If it doesn't, then we stand to be waiting quite some time. However, even if it does pass verification, it's possible we may still be waiting up to or even over a week, mainly because of the entire verification process in general. It's not necessarily Lindsay's fault, as many developers all have to undergo the same process. However, frustrations are only natural. Anyway, I'll continue to keep you all posted as we move forward with future updates, but that should help clear up as to why.
The city is flooded with wastewater. All the residents need fled. The city is so hot. Yeah, available.
Console players are in this situation. I might also add, I'm no expert and I've never worked within the gaming industry. I just research and read a lot about whatever I'm covering, and I also have first-hand experience with mini games not being up to.
it's just been on my face for hours.
If only I could have studied it.
Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, aka Timothy Spoiler Band, and in this video I'm breaking down Alien Earth. The brand new series has just dropped on Disney Plus with a big 2-episode debut, Electric Boogaloo. Throughout this video, we'll be going through the Easter eggs and also pointing out the changes to the timeline and our overall thoughts. We will, of course, be breaking down every single episode every week right after it airs, so make sure you subscribe. Anyway, I just want to get straight into the series, and right from the off, the show's awash with references. Beginning with the FX text, this is written in the same style as the display on the computer Mother on the Nostromo. We also have the fact the title is Alien rather than Aliens, showing that they're focusing mainly on one xenomorph. We do get different species though that I'll talk about in just a bit, but I do wonder if we'll even get an S added at one point. Watch out, James Cameron. Either way, we see the text flowing in akin to the opening of the first film. Disappears bit by bit, just like how it did there. Beyond that though, we get lots of clips behind it. This appears to be a way that they're going to recap the previous episode, and it's kind of what they use it for in episode 2. It actually reminded me a lot of the original Alien trailer and how it was used there. We have clips in the background while the logo faded in, and I definitely think that's what Hawley was pulling from. Either way, we get a block of text that actually ties in more into another one of Ridley Scott's franchises. That is Blade Runner. Over the years, there's been little Easter eggs left in Alien that show that these two universes might be connected in more ways than one. For example, in Aliens, we get a scene where Ripley is debriefed by the bored-out whaling Utani. During this, we get a shot of Dallas's profile, and upon closer inspection, we can see a mention of the Tyrell Corporation. This is the corporation that made the synthetics in Blade Runner, so it hints at their connections. When discussing Prometheus, Scott also said, I think when the Nostromo crew got back to Earth, they might have wanted to go up to a bar on the street near where Deckard lives. Beyond that, we also had the same display graphics we used in both films. Dark Horse further cemented this in their Alien vs. Predator comics. They mentioned the Great Deletion, which is something that also happened in Blade Runner. I don't think it's any coincidence either that Timothy Olyphant's Kirsch looks heavily based on Rutger Hauer's Roy Batty. Either way, this opening discusses the quest for immortality, which is also something that we explored in Prometheus and Romulus. The former had Weyland living his last few days, desperate to meet his maker so he could become immortal. In his and his daughter's death, the corporation went into freefall, and this is how Utani was able to seize it. We meet her later in episode 2, and there were originally plans to have Michelle Yeoh play her in Prometheus. However, the Charlize Theron scheduled freed-up 2-day shoot with Mad Max Fury Road, she was able to appear in the movie more. We also had Charles Bishop Weyland appear in Aliens vs. Predator as well as Ms. Utani in the sequel. Scott's prequels later retcon the AVP timeline, but it's great to see Ms. Utani here nonetheless. However, I am sure many fans would love to pretend those movies never existed in the first place. But we are working on a breakdown of them at the moment. Yay! Kill me! Stick a face on them! At this point in time, we know about Utani, which we get confirmed in this intro. Romulus also had the Black Goo experiments, which they were trying to reverse engineer. This involved experimenting on a rat, and we see a similar sort of shot in South Africa.
Guy Vegas, get 50 seriously raised me in 200 more when you have to spend. No wagering required. What win is what you keep. Sky Vegas. Play. It's why we're here.
So, when it comes to the continuity though, things are kind of up in the air, and there has been some very conflicting reports. Hawley said this is sort of in its own timeline, however, he's also stated that he's working within the established canon. This included consulting with Ridley Scott along the way. Now, Prometheus took place in 2093, which was roughly 30 years before the events of Alien. That was set in 2122, and this show's set in 2120. So it doesn't necessarily wipe Prometheus out of canon, and you can sort of juggle this stuff in your head. To be honest, mate, like my mind's awash with loads of different things that all retcon the other thing, but somehow I've managed to jigsaw them together in my mind. Even the Dark Horse comics, I'm like, I've forced this to be canon in my head. I was raised on James Bond, mate, so all this stuff makes sense somehow. I think the biggest issue the series is going to have, though, is explaining how humanity remains unaware of the xenomorphs down the line, especially as an outbreak like this is happening on Earth. Personally, I think we'll likely see a corporate cover-up that shuts the entire thing down, and they've been known to do it in the past. Even Halley's Hope had a false narrative spun about it, and they definitely have the power to do it. Either way, the opening tells us that humanity is currently in a corporate race for immortality. This comes in the form of 3 guises, and we meet them throughout the episodes. The first of these is the Cyborg, who are cybernetically enhanced humans. These are people like Morrow, who's morally ambiguous. He has a torch built into his hand, and loads of cool gadgets there that make the women go wild. Next we have the artificially intelligent beings known as synths. These are the androids that we've seen throughout the franchise. Whether it's the basic ones like the Working Joes and Alien Isolation, or all the way up to David, these are the most common type of robots that we've met. This is also the biggest connection to Blade Runner and similar to what we know there. Both synths were used as slaves because of the hostile nature of the majority of planets in the universe. When the corporations were expanding their building worlds programs, they'd often send in synths as the workforce because of their enhanced strength, durability, and power to hit the thumbs up. This added an extra bit of social commentary to the whole colonization of planets thing, and it's something a series has started to explore more and more. The final type are the hybrids, which are the ones that we meet with Wendy. We'll talk about the Ghost in the Shell influences later, but it asks a lot of philosophical questions about what it means to be human. It's also clearly these sort of Black Ops style missions where they're bringing back alien life forms. It's here that we join a ship on a mission like this, which is the USS Maginot. This is named after Andrew Maginot, who was the French Minister of War during the 1920s and early 30s. He developed something known as the Maginot Line, which was a line of defensive fortifications along the border of France. This was supposed to stop Germany's invasion, and it was considered impenetrable. Just one problem, mate, yeah? The Germans are going to go around it, and they invade the country through Poland and the Netherlands. So it's a massive failure, yeah? And the term has since been adapted into the lexicon. A Maginot typically refers to a defense strategy that's completely ineffective due to a limited understanding of what they're facing. It's also basically about having a false sense of security and a sort of hubris about something. You can completely apply that to the show and how ill-equipped the humans are with the vessel and it's like your last voyage of the on the Dracula book thing on the functions fine. Either way, we look sideways and there's lots of flashes of it on the ship, and we get shots of that with the base in between. Very similarly opening of X3, where we've got what is really similar though is how we open up the episode after this. I don't know if I've seen something this member berries as much before, but it pretty much is shot for shot the original film, but most of this opening. We begin with a helmet and the screens reflecting off of it as Mother starts to wake up.
Tranquilo, elma. Ok. Guardate, ma pula, morți Dumnezeu, morți nasfonic, hai. Haide, dați-ți în pula mea. Hai, nu sângeți pula, hai. A fost niciun update, morți, mate. faceți mic. Așa. Niciodată bona morții mai completate. Hai secte că minciun mâncați, căcat mâncați în pula. Hai să vedem unde de la început. Hai să vedem unde update. Hai. What the fuck is update?